wanted to do more of a deeper dive into really the macro environment, what's going on, especially for the Hexicans, because right now we're dealing with obviously a very strong bear market, right? With everything, we're in a very difficult macro environment when it comes to assets of all calibers, really outside of like what precious metals and stuff like that, right? So you have stocks, you have even the real estate market is showing big signs of decline. The crypto market has been totally wiped out, right? 85, 90% correction, a lot of altcoins. Bitcoin down about 50% now, it's still trading around 28K. And then inflation has been really the name of the game for the past year. And a lot of the verbiage from the Federal Reserve here, at least the US, has been, trying to keep this transitory inflation, under control. And obviously they haven't. Because real inflation rates, if you've been to the grocery store anytime at all over the past 6 months, has been around anywhere from 30 to 200%. I mean, I think I saw eggs again at not even Costco, it was like Walmart, and it was like $8 for 24 eggs, something like that. Oof. It's just nuts, dude. So obviously CPI, we've talked about that too. We'll touch on some of these things again, are not really true to what's actually happening because they can massage the consumer price index, right? To kind of not falsify the report, but massage it to look the way they want it to look, to make it seem like 8% inflation is the real deal when really it's much higher. But we wanted to touch on this more. We wanted to bring it back to food because these can be very annoying, frustrating, and trying times, especially if you're on a very strict budget that is now under the constraints of inflation, which is robbing people's value from their paychecks and making you earn less, right? Your purchasing power is being taken from you. So we want to talk about some items that are going to be potentially clear good fits during, let's be honest, probably the next 1 to 2 years. I think there's going to be some hyper transitory events, at least in the United States, that are going to happen, whether it be in oil, wheat, in a bunch of different areas. But so hopefully you can hit this in a way that's valuable for you guys and give you some stuff to look for when you're at the grocery store next. And then you have things like hyperinflation. You have things like the job market, which is strangely still strong, which is a whole other conversation, but oil is probably one of the more obvious ones, as well as just regular inflation. But you see this ascending triangle, right? And we're about to break out. So if we take the base of this, and it's about 24 points. And I think we talked about this last week. They say like 145, right? Something like that. Because 24 points is about, 140. So right around 140. I still think oil is going to hit right around 140 per barrel, guys. And, gas prices haven't even caught up to where we're at yet. Like we just ripped from 111 to 120 a barrel. We just ripped up $10 a barrel. Like we haven't even caught that. So I really truly think $8 to $10 per gallon of gas, right? Maybe like New York, California situation, $8 to $10 around there. I mean, they're already seeing numbers close to that, to be honest and frank. So I'm probably wrong there. So we'll probably see in Texas something like 6 to 7. And then New York, California being the outlier states are going to be a little bit higher, right? Like get that kind of stuff. But this is coming. Like this is going to indicate what's happening. So what we need to understand here with oil costs going up the way they are, look at historically what has happened, right? Yes. So the DXY is a comparison of the US dollar's strength to every other currency. That's all it is. It's not a comparison of how well the dollar is buying you food or how well the dollar is buying you oil, because we know that that's shitty. It's getting worse. Yeah. Right? This is just which turd is the worst turd in the punch bowl. That's really what it is right now. We know fiat currencies are not great, but the point is this is gaining steam. This is on its parabolic rise. It is not fallen out of the parabola yet. And with the Federal Reserve still, at the moment, not pivoting and increasing rates and tightening its balance sheet, this will continue to go further and further up as people pull money out of asset classes like crypto, stocks, real estate, et cetera, and they go into the safe haven, which is still the safe haven for now, which is utterly fascinating to me that it's still the safe haven. Dollar. So when we see something like this, we understand that this dollar is going to buy us more of stuff like what? Hex, right? This is historically good times to buy. Look at what it did up here with coronavirus. What was the best time to buy right here at coronavirus? Hex, because it performed better than Bitcoin, right? This is the best time to get Hex for its cheapest, right here. Because then after that, the dollar fell what? From here all the way down to here? Yeah, dollar goes down. So now I want to show you this. This is why it's important to know why the Federal Reserve is doing what it's doing. It wants to restore strength to the dollar as a reserve currency. It doesn't really give a shit about inflation. Inflation is always going to be here to some extent. Whether it's at 2% or 20, clearly they don't care about that either. But look at how strong the dollar is. The last time it was this strong was like the last time it was stronger than this point was all the way back here in September of 2002, December of 2002.
Yeah.
Like if I extend this out, the dollar has not been this strong or stronger than this since back here. Like we're encroaching now on levels that we're not seeing since 2002 as it pertains to other currencies.
Yeah.
Remember, not food or anything like that. We're feeling the pressure there. So this is really important to know because eventually this is going to hit a top. There's a couple levels that it could where we think the markets are going to break, but we're already seeing the markets breaking. So this is important to watch. The DXY is such an important metric to watch and be aware of and know what's going to happen next when it comes to the markets, not as it pertains to buying food, but the markets themselves. Because what they do with policy is really going to dictate what people feel comfortable doing with their money. And right now, people are taking their money out of assets and putting in the dollar, or they're getting liquidated and they have to go get more dollars to pay off their freaking margin calls, especially in crypto. I mean, how many freaking billions of dollars were just wiped off the crypto market?
Yeah.
What do these people are doing? Scrambling to find dollars, selling all their shit.
Yeah.
To go back into dollars. So this thing has been on a rip. Look at this thing. Rip, all the way up. Look at this. Nonstop. And we're going up almost in a straight line now. So this is important to understand contextually what's going on here. So this is what they've done with interest rates for percentage points before they've reversed course and then lowered interest rates, right? So lowering interest rates are typically an easier monetary policy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's easier, you get money that's cheaper. So
Yeah.
it's cheaper to run a business, cheaper to get a loan, cheaper to whatever. So look at when the last time we raised rates, which I think was when Paul Volcker was a part of the Federal Reserve, he brought rates all the way up to 19%. Look at that. 19%. Can I maximize this? Lit. 19%. 19% of an interest rate. Think about now people are complaining about a mortgage rate at 5%.
Yeah.
Think about what would happen to the U.S. the world financial system if rates went anywhere near this.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't work. So there's so much more debt layered on the system, right? So look at here. So what I want you guys to notice is if we were to make a trend line here, see how these little bumps get lower and lower?
Yeah. Before you even do that, what was this? Do you know what this response or what was happening right before we ran up to 19%?
This was in the 80s when we had our first really big inflationary crisis going on.
Yeah, man. Like now.
Yeah. Oh, it's worse than now. I think the inflation's even worse now because the U.S. dollar value up until recently, right? Because it's strengthened a lot recently. You've lost so much purchasing power because of inflation over these many years, and obviously wages have not caught up with it.
Yeah.
You know, when inflation's 8% month over month, or year over year.
Yeah.
Or a lot more than that. Let's be honest.
Allegedly. Not
Yeah, allegedly.
Year over year.
If you're not getting a 30% raise for the year and then some, like you're screwed. You're losing money.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you guys remember the last time just us three were streaming together. It was actually the first time we ever streamed together. And it was when you came onto the Hex Late Show for the first time. And I believe that was after Big Payday. So it was like...
No. It would have been... Really? No, I know it was a big deal getting Tangent across because I'm only, like...
Yeah, no, it was 2020. It was 2020, I think it was November, December.
I'm pretty sure it was.
And it was like around that time. The reason I remember that is because it was hot and I was like, I had like all the kids were home. So I had to go to the car and like stream from the car. And
right.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. And we were talking on that stream, and this is something I've been meaning to address, because on that stream, I was actually saying that I thought in the bear market that Hex was just going to pump really, really hard.
Or at a minimum, stay flat while everything else was just free falling through the sky.
Yeah. So
sideways or up.
That prediction. So I'm going to hang on to one last little thread of hope, that if
I'm with you,
if by chance, like BTC takes another leg down, like real hard, like, just like capitulation, another 50% down from where it is now. If that was to happen, we pump. Right. So that's my last little thread of hope. Otherwise, I'm going to say it openly. I was completely wrong about that. Completely wrong about that. And that's why you shouldn't listen to us, right? That's why you shouldn't listen to us. I was saying, wouldn't it be cool if this is what happened with Hex? But you were actually, like, 'cause at the time, Tangent, you were saying, you were like, because I'm like, yeah, it's like this new paradigm, and you were like, at the time, you were like, bro, ain't no fucking new paradigm.
This time is different is the most dangerous saying in all of investing.
So that just goes.
But I was also hopeful of
your
that.
experience. I just want that goes to show your experience in the space, because you've been in this space for a long time. You've been around the block, and that was probably a bit of hopium on my part.
Man, I think.
Having said that, like, I still hang on to that thread of hope.
But obviously, it's just too complicated to try and pin down a strict definition when every project is so different. So you would go to the effort of creating this definition that works for Bitcoin and other similar proof of work networks. And then you have this other thing where you're like, oh, well, that doesn't work. So then it kind of means there's not really any point. If it's not going to be a metric that you can use to actually adequately compare across crypto assets, then what's the point of even adequately defining it? So I got into that. I drank my own Kool-Aid of like having one Bitcoin. If you're a diehard I'm like, I see enough diehard Bitcoiners on Twitter that if every single one of those mofos had just wanted one or more Bitcoin themselves, then the price is going to infinity. Like, there's that many people. So it didn't make sense to me. So I'm like, well, either these mofos are pretenders and they're out there screaming about how much they love Bitcoin and how it's going to change the world, but they don't even own a full Bitcoin, or there's some kind of manipulation, or I'm doing the math wrong. Like, there's got to be some reason why that mental model just got absolutely effed all the way down to $3,000 in 2018.
I reckon there'd be heaps of them hiding that don't have one Bitcoin. How many Bitcoins have been mined so far?
I think it's in the 19. I think it's in 19 mil roughly. Like,
but it gets harder and harder to mine, doesn't it? Because it's more electricity and of course the halving.
You're right. The competition for hash rate, the hash rate competition, and the halving makes it.
But that can fluctuate though. It doesn't necessarily have to always be harder. I mean, when China turned off all their mining, it actually got easier to mine for a bit of time.
So this is the thing that makes me laugh, right? So people come up with these FUD narratives, and I say to them, well, that's not the case because of this reason, and also we have historical precedent of this happening, and it was fine. And then they still are like, no, that's a problem. I'm like, what? I'm giving you actual real world examples that really happened. How is that like? So the China one's perfect. The China banning Bitcoin, that solved two narratives.
Hey!
Hey guys.
Yo, JFK, what's up?
Oh,
I'm here.
I just rugby.
You get something's going on with your mic.
Oh yeah, someone's got echo. By the way, let's get back on. Let's back on to talking about Hex, since this is not the Bitcoin show. This is the Hex show.
Echo.
And
oh, did you read that comment that like Brizology just put up? Like, RG3 is going to come on here and crack heads for talking about.
Oh no, I didn't see that comment. I honestly just thought it myself. I just honestly thought about it myself. No, but typically when we do talk about
come
Bitcoin,
on and give us shit, but he's not going to crack heads. Come on, man.
Typically when we do talk about Bitcoin, we're trying to use it as a, I guess, as an analogy, or like as an example or a case study for Hex. Really, you know what I mean? Like, as in these are lessons learnt and other aspects of the oldest coin that we can then apply those lessons and those mental models to Hex as well.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Well, I am experiencing this matter, so let me speak to that for 1 second.
Day 43 has had several. Day 43 has had to have several.
I think Day 43
reductions.
is confused with the extra penises that might exist that you're not actually expecting in parts of Thailand. But,
Doc, I'm sorry. The girls are saying it's still too big. You're going to need to do another reduction.
Let 43 speak. What did you going to say? 43? What are you going to say?
No, I was just joking.
Oh, righto.
Hex is the dead king. It will rise from the ashes. That 90% dip at the bottom.
There is a thing they say, which is the king is dying, the king is sick, the king is living. Long live.
Are you making fun of Das Baum?
No, never. I would do that ever with English. The jokings. My wife asked me about this tonight. We had a little bit of a discussion on this topic, and I said, I think people are just. The reaction is humorous because I want you to change the paradigm of cryptocurrency, make something that's tremendously successful and that makes us happy or comfortable in the gains. And I want to criticize you and for you to fit into my preconceived notion of someone that would wear a suit and tie and be presentable in a board meeting. What idiocy is that?
Well, the suit and tie guys are mostly broke.
Yeah, look at DJ Cryptomatic.
Well, you
Back
can take
to my
it
X shirts. Lost my last shirt.
But the guys working in the bank, they are working. They are just employees.
They never made me rich in a bank.
Even some CEOs are just employees.
Mad Max.
Some of the people come up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that one was funny.
Also note the Mercedes, the actual Mercedes in the middle.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yo, I didn't notice the license plate until today. I didn't see the license plate the first time.
You never knew the big PP license plate?
No.
What? Dude, that's real. That's real.
No, I mean in the picture, fool.
In the picture.
Oh,
the picture, fool.
In the picture, fool.
Picture you, fool.
That's the most outrageous thing about this photo is the license plate. Yeah.
And I completely missed it because I was laughing at everything else.
You didn't notice the Mercedes on top of the Mercedes?
No, not until now.
Just the Mercedes on top, not that it was on top of the other one.
All right.
I thought they had spliced RH onto the picture, not that like they had thrown the whole thing on the picture. I don't know how none of that stuff works. I'm not a meme. So excuse my ignorance.
What is
funny. This is an old one, but it's always funny because that one came out at the top. It came out at the top.
So you got higher RSI on a lower price. So this is a really nice bullish hidden divergence. Or no, wait, not hidden. It's a normal divergence.
It's not really hidden.
Yeah.
So let's paint that out for you. Divergence.
The bulls are hiding.
We can barely see the RSI. I can't. I don't know about you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
wait.
hardly
Gotta highlight that a little bit more. Not purple on black.
No.
I like black on black because it's more orderly. I still hike up the purple to maximum purple on black. How about a contrasting color, Dust Bomb? Yellow or anything else?
White.
I like
White, yes.
White and
orange. You get orange.
Orange.
Okay,
This
it's fine.
This is visible. Okay.
Orange and
There you go.
Attention.
There you go. You see the divergence? It looks very nice. Very nice.
Oh, yes.
And if you go back, the action, the price action,
Find that
looks
fractal.
very similar
Well,
at the end of what was it, 2020? Yeah, end of 2020. This is the big payday
Yeah,
crash,
there
and
is-
this was the 30% bonus for everybody. So
But there's not high volume there.
there
Don't
was actually
screw up my
no volume at all.
fractal.
What is that? 86% drop. Yeah. And that looks very similar. And what happened after that? Ooh, Le Pump happened after that. Is this even daily? Yes, it's daily. Let's put it on weekly. Yep.
There it is.
Where is your divergence now? Huh?
Well, let's hope.
we've been diverging for 3 months.
Would be interesting. Would be funny if that actually plays out. But you never know. Could go up, could go down, could stay the same forever, and then nothing changes.
But
as always, remember, this is not financial advice. Don't listen to me, the fucktard. This is just some.
I'm glad you forgave us from being that.
Armchair TA. And remove.
That was easy. We win.
This one time, Bitcoin went from 6 cents all the way to 36 cents, and then it crashed down to 21 cents. And then another time, Bitcoin went from 85 cents all the way to $29, and then it crashed to $3. And then another time, Bitcoin went all the way to $213, and then it crashed all the way to $70. And then another time, Bitcoin went all the way to $1,100, and then it crashed all the way to $239. So the moral of the story is don't buy Bitcoin because you know it's going to crash again.
The best part about this meme was from 2015. That's before the big bull run in 2017. That was the lull for 2 or 3 years in the bear market. He posted that. Yeah. And now
this one time, X went up 500%, and then it crashed down 40%. And then another time, X went up 10,000%, and then it crashed down 56%. And then another time, X went up 450%, and then it crashed minus 75%. And another time, X went up 13,400%, and then it crashed 87%. Moral of the story is, don't buy Hex because you know it's gonna crash.
His face.
Even Johnny Chaos does this video.
Yep.
That was really
Nice.
good. You gotta love the irony, right? I mean, it's really the best because it just highlights how easily people just don't see the obvious.
It's like, hey, we're sitting here. I don't make a lot of money. I'm doing this. I'm having fun. I'm trying to learn. I'm just enjoying life and, doing business. It's moving forward. And I think that because of Instagram and because there's so many like PR'd versions of people out there that is not based on reality, I think it's connecting, or hopefully it's connecting with a decent number of people. And that's a ton of fun. And then in terms of the content, I've actually been making content since like 2013. Online is mainly like fitness related content. So there's some really cringeworthy stuff out there. Definitely don't recommend checking out any of that stuff. But it's been I didn't have the commitment to making content. It was always something to do on the side for fun. And I'd make several videos per year for a number of years, but then I'd stop for several months not doing something and come back to it. And about 3 years ago, I quit working like the traditional 9-to-5 job and started out my own thing. I had no idea like what I was going to do or anything like that. But I was like, I know that at one point I had a YouTube channel that was monetized and I was making a little money on that. So I knew that if I could amplify what I was doing on YouTube, I could start making more money. So I just was like, okay, let me just make 5 videos a day on fitness related content. And so I started doing that and started ramping that up while I was still working at a bank. And then 2 years ago, I quit working there, and I've just been continually ramping up the content production and pushing out more and more content. So I have one channel that's related to like business, crypto, taxes type stuff, because that's the stuff I found super interesting. And then the other one's like all fitness, but it's more of the, how we're in that
like fringe of society because most people don't understand crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's the arena like that in the fitness space around, say, drugs, around peptides, around different compounds, and it's fascinating because you can do a lot of stuff, whether it's related to healing yourself faster, tanning, adding muscle, sleeping better, even correcting things so that you can get rid of taking drugs like pharmaceutical drugs and use it with supplements and things like this, through checking your own blood work, that a lot of people don't realize you can just go order blood work yourself and do your own blood work and this kind of thing. And so I enjoy that. And that's also what one of my companies it does, not necessarily the blood work side of things, but there's a gray area. Oh, this is my girlfriend. Hey, baby. Thanks for coming on. And that's what one of my companies does, is like the peptide space, which have you ever heard of peptides before?
Not really.
I have, yeah, but I would love to hear more.
You see EVs, so electric vehicles are following an adoption curve. If you look at, say, televisions or electricity or airplanes or any technology, they always follow an adoption curve, and it always looks like an S. So it starts out really, really slow, and then it picks up speed, right? And it goes faster and faster, like exponential, and then just kind of goes vertical. And then when you get up to maybe, say, 70, 80, or 90%, it starts to taper out and creates the S, right? So it goes up like that. Every single technology. And I was watching this happen with EVs and Tesla. And then I get into the crypto space and I was like, I wonder if I can use this same like framework that I learned about with Tesla to see what's going on in crypto. And so I found one research report. The company started with a T, I don't remember. And then crypto.com releases their annual state of the nation for crypto. And they estimate that it's around 4%, 3.83% of the world in crypto. So if you look at like a normal bell curve, there's like 2 standard deviations away from the center. That's the tails of like a bell curve is 2.5%. So if you look over here, that's 2.5% of the population set is in that bell curve. We are just past that. If you believe crypto.com's numbers to be accurate, around 4% of the world population, we're just past that. And that means the growth rate is just about to accelerate. So this is super interesting, right? You're like, wow, we're going to experience something that probably people who have been in crypto have been talking about since it came out, because like, oh my God, this thing is so much better than what we have in legacy. Yeah. And they've probably been saying this is going to take over the world. But I personally, and I remember I'm new, I don't know, but I personally haven't seen anybody else looking at it from the adoption curve standpoint, because if you look at the adoption in 2021 and 2020, and you just cut that down by 50%, we're going to be at around 50% of the world population in crypto by 2027. Those are my estimates. Like that's insane.
Tell us what are the benefits of getting your blood work done?
So if you look at like diabetes or a lot of the list of top killers from the CDC of Americans, a lot of this stuff can be prevented, but that's not what's going to be told to you. And when you check your blood work, it's kind of like, if you look at like data analytics, you can see a snapshot of where everything is, and you're like, okay, cool, this is super valuable information. And it's one set of data, or one way to look at data. But another way to look at data is taking a snapshot every, say, 6 months of where you are, because then you get to see trends over time. And so you take a snapshot of whatever you're trying to take a look at this time. You could check micronutrients, you could check your hormones, you could check all sorts of stuff. And then over that next 6 months period of time, you can go through and make changes with your lifestyle and your diet and or supplementation to optimize your health and get rid of, like, so if you're checking your blood work and you don't want to have any of those things on that list or die from any of those things on that list that CDC puts out of the top things that kill people, like, I think it's an intelligent thing to do. Like,
yeah,
right. It just makes sense. Like, take care of your health. It's the only thing that we really actually have. Like, when you actually think about it. So taking responsibility for that kind of stuff is super important. I even have my girlfriend take blood work because it's important. I want her to be healthy. I want her to take care of herself. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get my dad to take more blood work. Hey, Dad, you should get your shit checked. I can help you with this, getting stuff taken care of to you so you can improve your health, so you can live a better life. Maybe you want more energy, right? Maybe you just want to, there's your hormones are a lot of, in my opinion, what could be focused on in people to help with so many things, whether it's like energy or there's lots of different issues in men and in women and how they feel in life. And if you optimize one's hormones, and that's not just testosterone. A lot of times people think of testosterone because I'm on testosterone replacement therapy, right? But you can also optimize your lifestyle and affect your thyroid and your adrenals or your progesterone or something it's more important for women type stuff, and all of these different pieces. So if you were like, hey, every day I'm freaking tired as hell, well, maybe there's a reason behind that. You're like, I'm just working a lot. Well, maybe there's actually a deeper reasoning behind that stuff. Like, how if you're either one of your businesses, if you guys have experience in whatever arena you guys have experience in, and I'm in there and I'm brand new, and Rob's like, bro, you're fucking shit up because you've already seen, I've already played that game, man. You're doing it wrong. I can tell you now, right? And you can see some of these things in people where it's like, oh man, because I'm working so much right now, or it's this other thing, stress at work or whatever, and my diet or whatever. But there's so many interrelated things, and going through and checking your blood work allows you to take that look, as you mentioned, Hexkin, and you can start to make those changes to improve that. And you don't need drugs. You don't need any of the shit I sell. You don't need, start with the simple stuff. You getting enough water every day, right? If you're not, focus on that. If you're not being active enough, be more active. Your sleep, get better sleep, have better relationships with the people around you.
Okay, anyway, PulseChain launch. You should all go watch Crypto Coffee's interview with an Bitcoin OG. And he had some cool things.
He's number 21 employee in Google. So.
Yeah, he was very early in Google, so he knows his shit. He was doing data center work from the very early Google days. And
big PP cock.
He also got into Bitcoin very early, and from how he talks, what he talks about, his knowledge, he is a degen trader. He knows what he's doing in terms of just gambling it away sometimes, but he has also a lot of knowledge about crypto in general. So he did look at the GitHub or GitLab, and he shared some doubts about PulseChain coming out in
2 weeks, yes.
In 4 weeks, in the how do you say it, in the close time, in the
near
short time, in the near term. So strap in for another 4 more weeks, 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 basically.
Well, maybe the code is not merged in GitLab. So,
But yeah, so he apparently is a programmer. He knows servers. He looked at it and he's like, maybe it's gonna happen. I would like to happen it early, but it doesn't look like it. So take away from it what you want, but everybody should still watch this interview at least twice, because there is some really golden nuggets in it. It's delicious information that you won't want, even if you're not a trader. He is telling his strategies, telling how to DCA in properly via liquidity pools, sharing some trading knowledge, real deep in it. His strategy for Hex, his strategy for pools, I believe, if I remember correctly. And he said what he is doing right now with his positions as well. Very, very interesting how he is approaching his DCA in it at the moment. So go Crypto Coffee's channel, watch it, share it, like it, subscribe, all the good things.
feels like a year ago. I feel a year younger.
Yeah. It's interesting because, we've had this waiting period for quite some time. It used to be the narrative was, hey, we can't onboard people because, transaction costs are hurting the little guy. $100 to get $50 worth of hex. That's the narrative, right? That's a year ago. The other side of the price isn't the sell that we do see. We see people selling down, losing enthusiasm, things like that a year into this wait. But I just checked, and $1,000 worth of hex is $9 worth of transaction cost. That's very, very small. Like I don't think that we look at the two sides of what moves the price as much as we used to. We haven't been talking about hex, and we bitch about hex price. We're talk about PulseChain that has no impact on your financial day-to-day because you can't do anything about it. If you sacrificed, you sacrificed. If you didn't and you have dry powder waiting for when it launches, then that's a future event. So it's interesting when we get in these doldrums. Everyone's in a doldrum, right? The whole crypto market, hexicans, pulsicans, pulsexicans, whatever. But we still have a value proposition that we really don't talk about. We don't talk about
Gary. Speaking of things that people don't talk about, do you find that people are overlooking the fact that that with the price decline, if you sacrifice a lot of tokens that are now sharply down below where you sacrificed, you locked in tremendous value at the right time?
Yeah, and you look at the narrative again. Does Richard have flaws? Absolutely, he has flaws. He's a human being, right? He is doing the best that he can to get attention on the product, and that happens to be playing clown world in an ADD world. So a lot of people like to talk about that, and they say, "Oh, it's hurting the price." Like you said, when we sacrificed, I did post something in my Twitter not long ago. I think my average was around 19 cents between the two separate sacrifices. 19 cents. Yeah, I locked in that price, right? I locked in that hex. And at that time, again, the narrative was, how can you participate in a new product that is needed in the whole crypto space while really, setting the hexicans ahead of the rest of the crypto space by launching it, right? So we have this PulseChain narrative that is, we saw the problem in 2017 when CryptoKitties broke fucking Ethereum, broke it. The bull crashed because of CryptoKitties. The usefulness of a world computer was demonstrated as not being able to process very much. And then innovations happen, all these other things that are trying to be L2s, or here's a different version of a blockchain instead of Ethereum, all the Ethereum killers and things like that that are going to do miracles over this past 4 years. And they haven't, right? So obviously the lead, the first mover advantage, the most developers are on Ethereum level 1, the first version of Ethereum 1.0. And so Richard sees what works in the space, he updates his worldview, and then he plans ahead well in advance. I think that the crypto bull was going to break when he was saying it a year and a half ago. Hey guys, the richest guy bought and then sold. Hey guys, look, it fell out of the parabola. Look at what I'm telling you, right? So part of this sacrifice narrative, to me, is marketing. It's locking in whatever the value is. Did the money go to a good cause about assembly and about freedom of speech? Whatever. We all participated based on our own philosophy about why we did it. And yes, I think there's a lot of marketing value out of the fact that not a single hex has been sold that was put into the sacrifice. All of the other coins have been converted into stables. They sit and they sit and they sit, right? Even if you have a $250,000 dev and you have 14 of them, it's not a very much of a burn rate. It's the runway that is prepared for what amazing things may come from such a treasure trove of cash, effectively. We will see what happens, right? And
the best thing is, sorry to interrupt you, not only did the hex get locked in, but also everybody who locked in their value at the top for the sacrifice they basically are missing the downturns of the bear market. They are saved from the bear market and all the cryptos going down at the same time.
Yes, but guess
locked in
what?
your value
That's
at
the
that
biggest point.
USD
You know,
price,
Guess
dollar
what?
price, whatever you.
I'm not
Hold on,
saying that Richard is Satoshi. I'm saying this guy has been paying attention to game theory for an awful long time. And
Hold on, Gary. To Das's point, one little thing I wanted to interject. Those of you that are staked hexagons that are staked, now you understand this is the first of several bear markets that you're going to experience. And just like Das said, you skipped over all of that crap. You're skipping over 3 to 4 bear markets in staking out to 15.2 years. I'm sorry to interrupt, Gary. Go ahead.
those are excellent points. And again, the narrative, the attraction, the community all gravitated to exactly what Papa Boner just said. You're going to sit through bears. You are going to fucking be sad during bears. But you also have a code. You also have a community. You also have a leadership, you know, for, you know, whether it's Richard or whether it's derivatives of Richard or other mouthpieces or whatever. That's what's very interesting about this particular product called Hex. I feel other people's pain. I get a little bit of heat also. People come in at 17 cents, 20 cents when they came in, when I've made pitches. People put millions of dollars in based on me having conversations with people, right? So I get a little bit, but also about half will say, maybe I didn't time it right. But the other half will say, holy shit, that's amazing. Now I can get it at 5 cents, 7 cents, 8 cents, whatever it is that they've been buying recently, right? I had somebody yesterday putting in $500,000. They're scaling it in. They're looking at what's going to happen over the price. I teach them everything about how Uniswap and set limit orders and things like that, and they are scaling in. I mean, because I know who they are, I can see that they're making buys, right? So they already had like $300,000 or $400,000 in, and they're scaling in another $500,000, right? So you have people that are out there paying attention to these markets. Are they super crypto savvy? Have they gone through bulls and bears in the past? Are they jaded and war weary? No, they're no pointers. These are people that were no pointers, and they're participating in something that they see changing as far as a trend in finance. You know, it's really an interesting time. This is the best time for you to consider your opportunity. One is we sacrificed close to a year ago. Two is many of us have continued working, earning income outside of crypto, right? And what do you think that does? That provides dry powder. When you flip your own switch about where you're going to speculate, where you're going to invest, what you're going to do to earn an income over the next 3 to 5 years of probably a super inflation event, you know, across the world, you should be proactive in the bear. Don't sit and suck your thumb, lay in bed all day and say, oh my God, you know, do something, be out there. That's the whole point.
So what you said, the people that are taking advantage of your knowledge in a positive fashion of your knowledge, they are ahead of everybody else because you bring them, even if they're no coiners, even if they don't know really what they're doing, you teaching them this knowledge with the limit orders and everything, they are just skipping ahead. Like it's like years and years that they are at how do you say it, going in advance of everybody else. And on top of that, they are doing it at the best time. This is the best example of money trading from weak hands into strong hands. Because that person that is putting in $1 million altogether, so $500,000 and another $500,000, those are usually long-term horizons. They don't intend to sell in 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
These are like locked in, and I'm in there for another 3, 4, 5 years at least.
Yeah, I mean, and again, to teach, that's what our outreach can be. And again, it seems counterintuitive because so much of crypto, 95% or more of crypto outside of hexagon and philosophies that a lot of us have adopted through Richard, is let me get this guy in so I can dump on them. Let me get this next participant in my community in so that I can take their money, right? Or let me get into trading so that I can fight through the computer with the other guy on the other side and take his money, right? I do think that Hex is a noble noble thing to promote. And I know that I've said it publicly. I've bought 800 grand worth at 41 cents. When it was 41 cents, I bought 800 grand worth, right? I sold a house. I had money that was sitting available. I took 200 out to support myself for the next year or so. And then I put the rest equity that was sold, right? That I paid taxes on for not going 1031 exchange. I could have put it into another real estate and not had tax, but I chose to put it into Hex. And so for me to go and make the pitch to people, hey man, 5 cents seems like a pretty good deal. That's a great ratio, right? Because that means that they get the same number of coins that I paid 800 grand for, they can get for less than 100, right? It's really, really an interesting narrative that all of us can have. Depends on if you choose to, because it seems like, I don't have dry powder, but I don't want this guy to have a better ratio than me. Well, what? Doesn't make any sense, right? If you want to have a bigger piece of a bigger, you want to have even a small piece of a big pie is a great deal. I think that's how Richard frames that. And so the narrative still to me is, this is math over men. This is code, right? This is transparency. Look at all of these tools that we have now. And the price is 5 cents or whatever it is right now. But look at where we started, 2019, 0.000056. That's where we started. And look at how many tools we had then. And look how the community grew from that price point before we had all of these tools, before there was Staker app and everybody was waiting for it. Everybody was waiting for fucking Staker app. All the time, every stream was like, when's Staker app coming out? When's it coming out?
Welcome to the Biz Pulse. And what I want to do is just like, kind of give everybody a story of who you are and how this project came about. I mean, I know there's probably a story up to it, so I'd love to get to know who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah, all right. So first of all, thank you for having me. This is wonderful to be able to talk about PulseCats. And yeah, so let me talk about my story. So going all the way back, my journey as an artist, I was one of those kids who was always really good at art at school. So when I graduated high school, I wasn't really good at much else. So I went to art school for about a year. And then I realized there that to be financially successful in the arts, you either have to get lucky or know someone, or you're going to have to create art that someone else wants you to make instead of art that you want to make. So I figured if I want to get the better return on my investment, my education, might as well study something else. So I left, and then I decided to study neuroscience instead.
Oh, wow.
Got my bachelor's degree in neuroscience. I worked in some research labs. I worked as a brain trainer. Then I went back and got my master's degree in human factors and applied cognition. Started working as a user experience researcher and designer. And it was around that time that I was also running the makerspace that was on campus, where we would teach students how to use 3D printers, how to solder, things like that. And one of the things that we had at that makerspace was a VR headset. It was the HTC Vive, and we had Tilt Brush, the app that I use. And that was when I got my first taste for VR art. I would just be in there for like hours and hours. I'd sit on the floor, like drawing cats or whatever I was doing then.
Yeah.
But, at the time I was, working like 2 jobs, going to school. I didn't have time or money to invest in like a $3,000 PC just to do some art.
Right.
So yeah, fast forward 4 years later to 2021, and I'm at a job that I really, really hate, working on designing products for title insurance, which is the most boring thing imaginable. And my husband gets a job that paid more than what we were both making combined. And he was telling me like, hey, you really hate your job. How about you quit and start doing VR art? And he had to really do some convincing for me to like be okay with like leaving my whole career behind to like do art, because that's something that just kind of like sounds stupid. But I saw that there were VR artists. One of them in particular was making tens of thousands of dollars on NFTs that they weren't even like unique one of one. It was like editions. It didn't come with a file or anything like that. And I was just like, wow, people are paying for art again. That was what I originally wanted to do. So yeah, I felt like VR art seemed perfect for NFTs. And I kind of had this vision of like NFTs being like a 3D asset store where people could get unique hand-drawn assets for their metaverse or something like that. So yeah, that's how I got into that. I don't know if you want to hear a little bit more about how I got to PulseCats, like as a collection.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it's pretty crazy that you like went away from the art thing and kind of totally changed kind of what you thought you were going to be doing, right? And now 360, you're back into it again. So it's really a cool story. Really cool story. Yeah, I would love to hear, where did this idea come from? I mean, you must love cats, obviously. I mean, right?
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, I've always been drawing cats. But yeah, when I started my journey about a year ago to do VR art and NFTs and stuff, I started and then I went ahead and like minted a couple NFTs or tried to mint a couple NFTs. I don't think it was like a gas list store because I went to like mint an NFT and then quickly learned that the gas fees are just like no joke. It was $400 something to mint an NFT. And I was just like, here I was thinking that this was just like this fun thing for nerds to do. And then, maybe you make money or something. But so I decided to step back because it was also just like getting flooded with like spammers and scammers and influencers and celebrities. And I was just like somebody just starting out with making art. And I was just like, let me just like step back from this whole NFT thing and just take the time to like really build up my skills, figure out what my art style is with VR as a medium, and then what kind of collection would I want to create? Because I knew I wanted to do a collection. Mm-hmm. And sometime in like that time where I was just, figuring things out, I had a musician that reached out to me to do a collaboration. And that's when I started experimenting with the audio reactive brushes and Tilt Brush. And that's when I really felt like I found my style, because it's just so awesome to be in there and like the music that you're listening to is like coming alive with the art that you're creating.
Right.
So yeah, with these PulseCats, really I started with the Jaguar. I love cats. I love big cats. And everybody always wants to draw a big cat in VR. It's like one of the things like everybody does is like a big cat. So I started with the Jaguar, and then it was Chinese New Year coming up, which is the year of the tiger. And I realized I could just use an earlier save of the Jaguar as a template for the tiger. And I realized, maybe I could do a collection of audio reactive big cats, because that's something that I would love to do that I wouldn't really like get tired of. And originally I was going to work on this collection and then apply to somewhere like Nifty Gateway or Maker's Place or one of those, curated marketplaces that already exist. And then I saw a video with Gerardo talking about Mintra, and I had already sacrificed for PulseX. I didn't realize that there would be a marketplace for Pulse so soon. So I figured, all right, let me go ahead and mint these on Pulse then. What's funny though is that I never really designed these to be called PulseCats or have any sort of theme related to Pulse or Richard Hart or anything like that. Right. But I was getting tired of calling them audio reactive VR big cats. It's like, yeah. Right. So I was trying to come up with a new name, and I was like, well, they pulse to the beat of the music and they're going to be minted on PulseChain. Maybe I could call them PulseCats. So I put out a poll on Twitter. I had a few other options, and PulseCats was overwhelmingly the majority. And yeah, that's the story of how PulseCats was created.
Okay. The PulseCats, a collection of audio reactive big cats drawn in VR. So, one thing I noticed, and I always like that, is 10% of all sales goes towards environmental charities, which I think is really cool. I mean, you're giving back, and that's great. So how does this, like, I'm so like intrigued on like drawing PulseCat 2 in VR. Like, how do you do this? I mean, it's like, it's crazy to me how you do this.
Well, it's exactly how it looks like in those videos. Like, the best way I can describe it is like, it's drawing graffiti art, but like in 3D, where you have like this trigger like on the controller, and it's like a spray can or something, but like it's in 3D space instead of like on like a wall or something.
Okay.
And Tilt Brush is actually kind of hard, because once you draw something, there's not as much you can do to like go back and change it. It's not like some other apps that like Gravity Sketch or Blender, for example. Like you can go in and then you could, you know, touch the vertices and kind of drag them around and like morph things around and stuff. Tilt brush is just kind of like you make a line and then that's kind of it. You can do some things. You can kind of resize it, rotate it, things like that, but it's not a very like precise app. So yeah, it really does kind of just feel like drawing like with 2D brushes or like graffiti like in 3D space.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I clicked on the video just to kind of show people what we're talking about, but I was amazed when I saw it, and that's really the reason why I hit you up. Like, I've got to learn more about it, and I thought, why not just do it on a live stream where we could introduce your project. So with what you're doing, I mean, the first thing you probably is just, it's like art, right? But now you kind of mentioned earlier, you see the NFT platform where you can actually potentially make money as an artist, which was gone for a long time, right? I mean, not only in like that side, but also in the musical side as well. I mean, that's definitely, NFTs are helping on that side as well, because I come from that side. But I think it's really cool that we're actually being able to see artwork featured again, you know, and this is like VR art is like, this is the future, right? I mean, like, I feel like why would anybody want to paint on a canvas if you can do this, right? Or am I just totally out of line?
I will say that there is like, you call it, like there's a learning curve, and then also there's like this brain thing where it's like you got to get used to it. At the beginning when I started, I would have some vertigo. So I had to cut out some of the other substances like, you know, weed, alcohol, VR, like combining all of those, it's kind of not great. And then your eyes will hurt. Like your eyes will hurt after a while. So it kind of sucks that I can't like go in there and do it or I won't let myself do it for like the entire day. That's why it takes me around a week to like finish like one whole cat, because I only do it for about 2 hours maximum a day, because I don't want to get brain cancer or something. Like, I don't know what, like,
right.
It's a new thing and it's amazing and wonderful, but I do want to put that out there that like there is that limitation where you will feel a little bit disoriented from it.
Gotcha. You're definitely going to launch on Mintra. And are you going to wait like a couple weeks after PulseChain launches, or what's your plan on that?
Yes. So in that like when mint, I think I explained there a little bit, like I'm planning to wait like a couple weeks after PulseChain launches. I imagine there's going to be a lot of volatility. And I don't know, I imagine people will want to see how things settle a little bit before they start doing stuff. I don't know. I just figured it would be smart to wait like a couple weeks after everything launches just to see where things go. And then I will, you know, I'll announce a date. One thing I'm afraid of is, you know, like you mint your stuff and then the price goes down and now it's like $1 or something. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was amazed to find out then that there were other use cases for crypto outside of just like being a replacement for fiat currency. You know, like, oh, this is in-game currency for something. Like, I understand that. My tiny mind understands that. Like, I don't understand, you know, different ways of computer math, like of doing money, like, you know, so that made sense to me. And then I realized, oh, there's all these new things that are going on with crypto, that they've got these NFTs and, you know, the metaverse and all this stuff. And yeah, so that's around the time that I got into crypto was when Decentraland was getting really popular.
Okay.
And then I learned about the Richard Hart ecosystem of Hex, Pulse, PulseX from a friend of mine. I've known him online for a very long time. They invested in Hex. They made a decent amount off of it. And then he told me about the PulseX sacrifice. I'm sure he told me about the PulseChain sacrifice. I'm sure he told me about Hex. But I was probably just like overwhelmed and just like, I was just like, I don't understand how this works. Like,
right. Yeah.
But it wasn't until the PulseX sacrifice I was like, wait, so I'm not actually sacrificing my money? Like, oh, I get it now. So it was at that point that I really like sold everything. I sold all my altcoins. So like I got into it at that point with the Pulse ecosystem. But, you know, before that I was like buying all these different coins, like, you know, trading and stuff. And, you know, I made some money here and there, but it wasn't like that much.
Yeah.
So I sold all of that and put it into sacrifice.
Nice. Okay. So everyone, make sure you go to PulseCats.com. And if you're going to PulseCon, she will be there doing some live demo stuff, which I think is really cool.